Hello, my name is TBSky. I'm a cartoonist, I'm an illustrator, I'm a comic artist, I do animation sometimes, I am a YouTuber, and I'm a freelancer. I've done a lot of freelance work for a lot of companies under a lot of circumstances, and I'm here to tell you that if you are an artist or a creative person, you should not submit your work to be part of Beyond Good and Evil 2. At E3, not too very long ago, Ubisoft announced this program that they're running with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's company, HitRECord, or HitRECord, however that's supposed to be pronounced, whereby they're going to crowdsource some of the creative assets that are going to be part of Beyond Good and Evil 2. Some music that's going to be playing, some posters that are going to be hanging on the walls around there. And it sounded exciting at first blush, but immediately I had some reservations. Now, first of all, if you have a tremendous emotional investment in Beyond Good and Evil 2, like if you really want something you made to be part of that game, like if that really matters to you, if that really has value to you, then fine, go ahead and submit. Like, I'm not here to tell you how to run your life or your business, but I'm here to tell you that if you do submit your work to this process with Beyond Good and Evil 2 to Ubisoft for them to use to monetize in their video game, you're not going to get paid fairly for your work. You're simply just not going to get paid fairly for your work. It's just not going to happen. And you're not going to have an equitable relationship with the people who are asking for your work. You're not going to have an equitable relationship of rights. You're not going to have an equitable contractual relationship with these people either. The normal process of being a freelancer is that a company needs some creative work done. Like they need an asset of some kind. They need some artwork, they need some graphic design, they need a website, they need music, they need whatever it is. In order to get that, if they don't have people in-house who can do it, they will reach out and find a freelancer of some kind who can do that work. And then the freelancer and the company will enter into a dialogue. They're going to reach out, hey, we need this work done, we need that work done, we need it done under these circumstances, we need it done, within this timeline, so on and so forth. Then the freelancer comes back, okay, well, I'm able to provide this and that, and it's gonna cost, and like my usual rates or the amount of money I want for that is going to be this. This is a simplified version of that process, obviously. Sometimes there are personal relationships and whatever, but usually you have a dialogue with the company. They say what they want, you tell them what you're willing and able to provide, and then you start negotiating the conditions under which you will provide it. What's the licensing agreement? Who holds the copyright? How long are they licensed to use your work in their thing? How much do you get paid for the time that you put in? How much time are you expected to put in? Like a lot of the time, if you're doing a big project, you should get your working hours down on paper so that they can't, so that you're not forced to work longer to finish a project because the company decided that they wanted 100 million changes at the last hour. This changes from freelancer to freelancer. Some people have more leverage over a company because they are better, they're more in demand. Some people have less because they're not as popular, or they don't have a lot of customers, and they have to give up more in order to give the work. There's a push and pull there always, a power relationship, but there's always an individual relationship between the freelancer and the company that wants the work. This is not the case with HitRECord. HitRECord has a pool of $50,000, which is quite a lot of money, but they have a pool of $50,000 that they will distribute amongst everyone whose work gets used in Beyond Good and Evil 2. Everyone. So if 50,000 people submit work to Beyond Good and Evil 2 and it gets picked, that's highly unlikely, obviously, then each of those people will get paid $1 at most. Or maybe someone will get paid $49,000 and the remaining cents will be split among the rest. Who knows? But there's a pool of 50,000 that has to be divided up over everybody who submits. By the way, they haven't told us anything about how many submissions that they're going to be accepting, how many people might be included in that pool. They also have not set out anything substantial about what circumstances under which your work will be accepted. They really haven't set out any quality standards. They haven't said anything about what level they expect the work to be up to. They haven't said anything about what genres they want the work to be up to. They haven't said anything about the styles. They haven't said anything about the aesthetics. They haven't said anything about anything as relates to the work that's going to be delivered to Ubisoft for inclusion in Beyond Good and Evil 2. So the normal process of getting in touch with a freelancer and getting some work done is not here. Like, the freelancers don't know what the company wants, and the company won't say how much work they want, from how many people, and they won't say upfront how the money that they've set aside for this project, how the budget is going to be distributed amongst the people who submit to it.
Every single finished piece that HitRECord delivers to the Beyond Good and Evil 2 team at Ubisoft Montpellier, whether it be a song or a visual asset, they're all made up of multiple records, multiple contributions from different artists all working together to create these final pieces. We call these individual records the resources of a piece. When we finish and deliver all the final pieces, the HitRECord team will review each and every resource. That way we can account for every single artist who was involved. This review process is done entirely by hand. We'll then make an assessment for how much we think each artist should get for the part that they played in making that song, that poster, or whatever.
So, once you have done the work, by the way, you're expected to submit finished work to this thing. It's not, you're not submitting a pitch. You're not submitting, oh, I want to do an illustration that involves these elements, and they're not going to come back at you and say, okay, you should do that, and then we'll pay you for that. No, you submit a finished piece of work to this thing, or at least a piece of work that is finished enough to be evaluated for inclusion. And then once you've done that, and once they've picked out all the ones they want and discarded all of the work that gets submitted that they don't pick to go into Beyond Good and Evil 2 gets discarded, doesn't get used, doesn't get paid for. But once they've picked the ones that they want to pay for, then they are going to decide amongst themselves, under their own reasoning, in a process that's not transparent to anybody who's submitting to this thing, they're going to decide amongst themselves how much they think all the work you already have done is worth. This is the equivalent of if you took a job and you worked 40 hours and then you come in for a review where the manager in charge says, I think the work you did this week is worth $10. How insane would that be? Under any other circumstances, how insane of a process would that be? But it gets even better.
This assessment will be posted publicly on our site in a document that we call a profit proposal. If you're included in one of these profit proposals, we'll email you and notify you on the site. But the profit proposal stage is not the end of the process. After our proposals are all posted on the site, the community will have 2 weeks of open feedback, and anybody can join in. Maybe somebody thinks they were left out, or thinks that somebody is making too much or too little. The community team, which is led by me, reviews and addresses every single concern that's raised. Based on this public discussion, we might make some adjustments or changes, but whatever we decide on, we'll let everybody know.
So, okay, gets even better, because not only do they get to tell you how much the work you have done is worth, how much they're willing to give you for that, then you have to enter into a battle royale with all of the other contributors to the project who have also just been told by HitRECord how much their work is worth. And then you have to decide amongst yourselves, and you have to debate, and you have to look at what the other guy is getting paid, and you have to get jealous. You have to say, oh, I put in more work than that guy. I deserve more money than he does. He doesn't deserve to get paid that much. They're telling the people who are submitting to this project to turn on each other like wolves and tear each other apart in order to have a chance, a shot at getting what you think your work is worth. You have to tear down other people, because there is only $50,000 to go around. If you want more money for the work that you have done, you have to make an argument for why someone else deserves to get paid less. This is literally the process of this whole thing. You have to turn on your fellow creative people and make an argument for why they don't deserve as much money for their project in order for you to get paid fairly for the thing that you did. This is fucking insane. And I am angry about this. And you know why I'm angry? Because Ubisoft is one of the biggest game companies on this goddamn planet. They can afford, first of all, to pay more than $50,000 for assets for their goddamn video game, which is going to cost millions and which has been in development for God only knows how long, has already cost them so much. They can afford to put more than $50,000 into that pot. They can afford to pay each and every single goddamn freelance contributor to their project fairly. They can afford, and they have the infrastructure and the resources to reach out and form an individual relationship where people have the ability to negotiate for the rights to their own work without having to litigate the value of someone else's contribution to the same project. What the fuck is this? This is like if every time you wanted to get paid by your boss at work, you had to go in there and say, I want to get paid fairly for my work, and my argument for why I deserve to get paid fairly is that Jimmy over in accounting showed up late one day for work. He needs to get paid less so I can get paid more. Fuck off with this. Is insane. This is madness. This is not how the fuck you run a business. This is not how the fuck you interact with freelancers. This is not how you source creative labor for your multi-million-dollar giant tentpole AAA video game published by one of the wealthiest game companies on this goddamn planet. do not submit your work to Beyond Good and Evil 2. You're not going to have an equitable relationship with the companies who are asking for your labor for the product that they're going to put out and profit from. You're not going to have an equitable relationship with them. You're not going to get paid fairly. I guarantee you're not going to get paid fairly for the amount of work that you put in. Because in order for you to get paid fairly, you have to be willing to fight every single other person who's going to get paid for the same pot in order to get a fair payment for what you have done. And if HitRECord decides not to follow up on your complaint, then you're not going to get any money. If you've spent 30 hours on a deeply emotional, affecting song that you've submitted to this thing and they decide to pay you $20 for that, that's too bad, pal. You don't have any recourse. And if they decide to pay some other jack-off white guy with an acoustic guitar who just sits down and strums out a cover to Wonderwall, $30,000 for that shit, you don't have any recourse. You have no legal rights. You have no way to challenge this. And I haven't read the specific contract that you're going to be asked to sign in order to be a part of this project, but I'm willing to bet that once you get to the stage of the process where there's a profit proposal, you don't have the right to pull your work out anymore. You don't have the right to say, no, you don't get to have my artwork. And even if you do, what does it matter? Because there's going to be 460 other people just waiting in the wings who have submitted their work, who didn't get picked initially, and Ubisoft can just discard you and pick someone else who's going to be a little bit more malleable, who's going to take whatever handout they decide to give to them, who's going to accept whatever price Ubisoft and HitRECord thinks that their work is worth in order to be part of a multi-million... I can't stress enough how pissed off I am that a company the size of Ubisoft, of all the companies on this godforsaken earth, Ubisoft, who has all of the fucking money, who could afford to pay every single artist who submits to this thing full price, fair industry wages for the work that they're doing, who could afford to do that, and it wouldn't make a fucking dent in their bottom line. They would still make it all back easily on Beyond Good and Evil 2, one of the most anticipated video games of all time, that they have the fucking gall to enter into this bullshit. Because let me just tell you why companies like to do this. This is exactly the same model as a company that goes out and says, hey, fans of this thing, why don't you all submit your design for a t-shirt, which we're then going to print out and use as merchandise for our commercial product. And then the thing they want, what this thing is designed to do, is to get as many people as possible to do work for free. That's the function of this thing, is to get as many people as possible to do work for free with no expectation and no compensation whatsoever, so that they can have a huge pool of thousands upon thousands of pieces of artwork, design, music, and whatever the hell else they want to put in the game that they can pick and choose from like a fucking buffet, where they can just fill their plate with whatever little juicy tidbits they want and ignore everything else. Everything else just gets thrown out afterwards. So that they have the power to choose without having to reckon with the rights of the individual artist, with the contributions of the individual artist, or with the dignity of the individual artist. They don't have to reckon with any of that, because if you complain, if you're not happy about it, if you raise a stink, Ubisoft at any point can just say, we'll just pick from someone else. We've got thousands. How are you going to argue that your work is worth anything when they've got hundreds or perhaps thousands of people just waiting in the wings who are going to be more willing to play ball with them? This is a travesty. I went into making this video not wanting to be pissed off about it. I really didn't want to sit here shouting and using curse words. I wanted to sound calm and reasonable, but I'm not calm and I'm not reasonable because this is infuriating. And as a freelance artist, it's a goddamn insult. It's an insult to my profession. Like, I've worked hard for a very long time to raise the value of my work to the point where I can ask for something like a living wage for the work that I do. And this shit undercuts all of that. If Ubisoft wants creative resources and assets for their goddamn video game, then they have a responsibility to pay fairly for every single piece of work that they commission. Because that's what this is. When you submit your work to this thing, they're commissioning you to submit that work, but they're not going to pay you anything. They're saying, we need this thing, we need that thing. Why don't you produce that work for us? But they give you no guarantees, no commitments, no rights, no recourse, no anything. You get nothing. You get nothing. You get paid if you're lucky, and if you want to get paid fairly, then you'd better be ready to tear down someone else to get it. It's enough. I'm going in circles because I'm just so angry, but this is some bullshit. If you're an artist, if you're a working artist, you should not be submitting to this. You should not be supporting this. You should not be enabling this game industry bullshit, because you're devaluing the work not only of every single other freelancer on this planet who wants to have some hope of getting paid fairly for their work. What if this shit catches on? What if other companies take a look at Ubisoft just sitting atop a pile of free work that's been done to them, picking and choosing like lords of the land, just grabbing from the buffet whatever the hell they want, and they go, they sure got a hell of a lot of labor for free there. We sure would be like to be able to exploit freelancers in that exact same way. And then next year, here comes Activision, Call of Duty Black Ops 32. Wouldn't you like to have your gun design in that game? Submit your gun design and maybe we'll pick one. Maybe we'll pay you for it. Maybe we'll even get your commission. And by the way, usually when a freelance artist submits something to a creative work of the scale and size of Beyond Good and Evil 2, you're supposed to get some kind of share of the profits. Like, most people don't, but theoretically, your creative work is part of the selling point. Like, that's what they're selling. When Beyond Good and Evil goes on sale, when it finally gets fucking released after 20 years, when Beyond Good and Evil 2 goes on sale, part of what Ubisoft is selling to the public, part of their sales pitch, part of what they're telling the people who are going to buy that game that they're paying for is your artwork, if it's in the game. That's part of the pitch. That's part of the whole sales pitch. That's part of the value of their product, comes from the work that you have done. And if Ubisoft cares so fucking much about paying artists fairly, as indeed HitRECord insists that they do,
after the 2 weeks are up, the final profits will be posted. Money is then paid out to artists digitally through our payment facilitator, HyperWallet. We anticipate the first round of Beyond Good and Evil 2 profit proposals to hit the site around January of 2019. Okay, so if anybody has any questions whatsoever, first check out the FAQ. There's a bunch of additional info there. Or you can email us at support@hitrecord.org. We're all really, really excited for this opportunity to make a bunch of art for a video game. It's going to be really, really awesome.
We're all really excited for this opportunity to make a bunch of art for a video game. No! You're excited for the opportunity to take advantage of thousands of artists who probably don't know better. This wasn't the clip I wanted to play you. There's a piece of this particular bit of video where he goes on and on about how important it is to the company to pay the artists fairly, to give them what their work is worth. We really care deeply about this. If you care so deeply about paying artists fairly, then answer me this. How the hell is it officially a part of your process that once you submit your profit proposal, it's up to the artists themselves to fight each other for a bigger cut of the pie? I'm done. I'm done. My name has been TV Sky. If you want to pay me some money in order to make videos like this, and I don't want to make any more videos like this, I don't want to have to make another video like this ever fucking again, then you can head on over to Patreon. Pay whatever you want. If you want. You don't have to. I understand why nobody would want to pay for more rant videos like this. I'm angry. You can subscribe to the channel, you can like, you can dislike. At this point, I don't care.